That's a good point. That's a good time to
As,
start the show.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Awaken Hidden Truth and Scott Lembriel. Thank you, Scott, for being here.
Well, thanks for having the courage to do it. Nobody else is on the whole planet. What we're doing on this show is not being revealed anywhere else on this earth by any other human beings anywhere. This is not arrogance or ego. This is a fact. Go look at the internet and watch stuff. You'll see that this is true. What I share with people is not being put out into this world anywhere, because most of this comes from the awareness consciousness beings have outside of Earth, out in the universe and in the other dimensions. So it's mostly quite beyond the way people are brought up on this planet. They're not taught it in school. They don't have it taught in universities. Most gurus don't know it, don't teach it. You know, to help people recover what they were made to forget before they were born here, nobody talks like this. Well, except us, of course. But it's the truth. It's exactly, absolutely 100% the truth. In
I
eternity,
agree.
people don't remember what they were made to forget because they're afraid to. And there is no other answer to that whatsoever. It's subconscious, meaning influences are affecting the decisions people make daily from something they're not aware of that's there, motivating them emotionally and imaginatively in negative ways about the present and the future. And what's important for anyone is to be free of subconscious influences. There's no greater challenge or more important task anyone can undertake in any lifetime than to be free of the subconscious altogether, to have it ended. So there is no subconscious. The most advanced normal beings out there, human and other races that fly among the stars, do not have subconscious minds, and their societies, their science, their spirituality, and their governments would not tolerate it. It's dangerous and destructive. They don't allow it. So they don't have the conflicts and the petty jealousies and the religious fanaticism and all this stuff that people run around doing on earth that they've been taught by equally inexperienced people growing up here. And they run around spreading this hatred, really, amongst who's the better religion, who's the better government. None of it matters at all, not whatsoever in eternity. Compared to the whole universe out there, where none of the religions on earth even exist at all, people are afraid to find that out because they may have to change what they believe in and make it better, or they may have to become responsible as beings for what they put out in the universe that messes their lives up. Instead of blaming everybody else all the time, they should point the finger at themselves when they look in a mirror. Because what they're doing isn't conscious. They're doing unconscious things, both good and bad, simultaneously. If you look at it, people are raised to think in good and bad in everything they do every day. And it's energy that goes out in the imagination, which is telepathic, from the being, which is spherical, not the brain. And it tells this omnipresent spirit, they call it, the 0 point of toroidal energy of the universe, the one power of the one conscious living energy that supports and sustains all that exists. And they tell it what to create, to bring into manifestation around them. And people on earth don't even realize this. Some tyrants do. They want people thinking in dual ways like that, so they are half working on half power and they can manipulate them. It's easy. So the most important thing to get out to people isn't a spaceship ride. It sure looks like that on the surface. Gee, that'd be neat. Yeah. But you got to understand there are beings out there that get up and grow up thousands of years riding in spaceships. It's like getting on a bus or driving a car to them. To me, to Earth people, it's like, oh my God, that's what I want. They really don't want is the responsibility to co-create respecting those races and those beings. So if they ever got picked up, they could be treated with respect because they respect. You can't put those beings on a pedestal because they don't like it and won't tolerate it, which means people that are doing that are not going to be picked up from someone from another planet. It's a waste of their time. And people would react in usual violent fear that gets triggered Some of the people I know on this planet would swear up and down they would get on a spaceship. If a man and a woman from another planet came here and got out of a spaceship and invited you aboard, most people would run in terror. Not because they consciously believed they could get on, have fun, it's because something would kick in and drive them away. Even from kind people putting out a high energy, they'd still be afraid of it. See, that's the problem. Fear creates negative, destructive reactions in people. They attack, they shoot, they run in fear. Governments do the same thing. So Earth is considered a very dangerous planet of very misdirected, almost psychotic mass of people. Why? Because they don't remember who they are, what they knew before they were born, what they are that isn't a body and has never been a body, and they don't know what to go do with themselves. Are afraid of almost everything and everyone. That fear is negative, and it creates negative repercussions in space-time. So beings from other worlds who don't deal with these negative emotions and don't have subconscious minds are not going to mix it up with people on Earth, not generally, because people on Earth are just dangerous and reactive. So this is common sense, which means people on Earth need to get over this subconscious fear of everything and embrace the greater God that's beyond this Earth, or they're going to stay as stupid as a brick for the next 10,000 years. And in this case, they wouldn't survive on this Earth anyway. The way it's being run today would not be here. There'd be no Star Trek 2,000 years from now. The only reason there hasn't been a nuclear war is because beings from elsewhere have stopped it. Not our own leaders, not our own classified people. They didn't stop it. Something else did. And at some point, these people are going to have to reveal this honestly and upfront in a safe way to all the people of this planet. And they have been told this in no uncertain terms already. So part of what the Pentagon does in this country is release disclosure a little of the time. When they feel people won't panic and hoard toilet paper or hoard gas or food when it's done, because they already do that with little things. Now, it's not true that the mass of people would panic and shoot everybody because they found out extraterrestrials exist. Most of them believe they do anyway. There's a difference between telling people they exist, right, and showing them they exist. Now, I want to say this again so you really hear it. There's a huge difference between telling people extraterrestrials exist. That's kind of a false disclosure because they can still keep things classified. In other words, tell people they exist, but don't tell them anything. And then there's the complete disclosure where they actually show the people the races from the stars in every city. That's disclosure. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of phony disclosure. I'm not a fan of telling people there's extraterrestrials. Everybody already kind of knows that from TVs and movies anyway. And most of them think it's going to be negative and they'll come here and bomb our cities and kill people and all that because that's what Hollywood's put out. But it's not true. Or it would have already happened. Some people are putting out fear of the future in ways thinking they're doing well and meaning well. Oh, there's a war between reptilians and everybody right outside our door, right in our solar system in space. No, there isn't. If there were, the people putting that would have been eaten and killed a long time ago. No, there is no war out there. There is a war here on this planet between people. And that's as obvious as getting up in the morning and going, oh, look, there's the sun. Oh, yeah, people are bombing each other somewhere. Oh, they're killing masses of animals. Oh, they're ruining the oceans. Oh, they're polluting the air. That's on Earth. It's not out there. It's on this planet. If you were one of them and didn't have a subconscious mind, didn't work with negative emotions or imagination, would you want to come here and just go, hi, everybody on Earth, guess what? I'm from another planet. They'd probably shoot him or her. Governments would probably capture them, try to put them in a lab and figure out how they tick. That's how stupid and misdirected people are on Earth. Stupid not because they're unintelligent, stupid because they're ignorant, meaning they ignore everything that they're afraid of. Ignorance is not unintelligent. It means you ignore stuff, block stuff, keep things from coming in, higher energy, higher awareness. This is the way people are on this planet. And it's clear and obvious to anybody that has eyes and ears to see and hear with on this planet. It doesn't have to remain this way. And this planet is not destined to remain like this. So you figure it out. What's going to happen from right now to full disclosure? Not telling people extraterrestrials exist, showing them. What kind of changes must mankind and womankind on this planet go through to be prepared to accept that without destruction? People don't ask the right questions. They can't even think the right questions. They think in terms of petty little things about their own lives in this world. You can't blame them. That's how they were brought up. But they need to think and imagine in terms of the galactic cosmos they live in, because the point is they live in it. And they're ignorant of all the rest of it except what's clogged on this little planet. And they think that's normal? No, it's not. If a person on Earth that, say, first heard one of these radio shows, didn't understand it, was suddenly teleported and transported to Telemedia or to Norexilum or some other planet, it would so freak them out and damage them. Their nervous system would kick in. Their subconscious fear drives would kick in. They'd be afraid they're going to be eaten. They don't know what's going on. They'd be cowering in front of these wonderful, kind people and reacting in all kinds of negative, unreasonable, and unfounded ways. And the purpose of such a journey would not be productive for that person. They may come back with a great experience, but they're going to be left with all their fears and stuff back on Earth. And that experience is going to fade into oblivion. People have had spaceship rides on this planet, and they're just as dumbed out and ignorant as they were before they had them, for the most part, because it didn't really change them. There is experience of being on a spaceship, and then there's knowing about why you're there and who you're with, and being co-creatively involved in a balanced way. There's a big difference. So people on Earth need to be prepared properly in order to really benefit from such things. And no, you can't smoke a joint and get on a ship from another planet, unless you want to get around a reptilian craft, because they don't do that stuff. And they don't need to do that stuff. So it doesn't matter whether anything's legal or not. Coffee's legal and it's addictive. So is iced tea. There are things that people make money on that are not good for people on Earth, and they're not even outlawed. Yet other things that might be good for people to some degree are. They're trying to make vitamin C outlawed, unless you're a medical practitioner distributing it. It's stupid stuff like that. These people have, they think, changed DNA or altered DNA, like Monsanto, or some of these companies that have patented genes, and they think they own them because they patent a mutation of something. Good luck with trying to keep that among the stars, because you won't. And people on Earth never and never will own genomes on the DNA. They didn't invent them. They didn't get created on this planet, and they had nothing to do with it. So it's just an ego trip for money. That's all. And because it's negative and suppressive, it has repercussions in space-time that will harm the people putting that out eventually. Has to. It's universal law. Every action creates an equal but opposite reaction in the energy of the hue in space-time. Toroidal zero-point energy reacts this way on itself. It's affected by what we imagine, good or bad. It's a co-creator with us. If people on Earth knew that this one energy they pray to is not meant to really be prayed to, but respected, and they're responsible to use their imagination in only kind, uplifting ways and creating new ways of doing things for the benefit of all life, not just life on their planet. The doors to outer space, to other dimensions, and the technology would be just brought here and dropped in our lap at no charge. Do you think people from other planets are going to accept gold bullion or dollar bills from the United States to pay for their stuff? They don't even use it. So the answer is no. You can't buy it with that stuff. Something else is important to people elsewhere as an exchange for doing something kind like that. It's not what people on earth think it is. If people in religions were really honorable and sincere in their dedication, then they would want their religious faith to lead to direct experience about what they believe in, and lots of it, not just faith. Because that ends in just belief when you die. A person's no wiser, and they take all their fears with them. Nothing else, not even their body or brain, just their subconscious fears and misdirections go with them. So the state of one's consciousness is what leaves when this body ceases to function. So we want to have our awareness aware of the greater God out there. Perfect common sense. Otherwise, you're stuck with the little God on earth thing, this little petty little bunch of nonsense. You take that with you. Compels you to recreate getting the false security of another body and climbing in it with no memory all over again. And guess who's responsible down deep for that? We are. If you get caught by a tyrant and brought to this earth, there's something involved in your character that led you to this point. And it can turn into a very wonderful thing. Being suppressed on a planet can turn into creating incredible things that nobody ever thought of before. I know because I've done it. I'm doing it. And it results in something great, but you have to first drop revenge and anger and hatred of all the things ever done to you or you've done to other people in other lives in order to accomplish something new. Because working with the omnipresent energy, co-creative power in the universe, doesn't work. And doesn't work effectively with negative emotions and imagination unless you want to stay in a very petty little life of understanding, a very closed down, suppressed, frightened life. The rule is you don't want to indulge in fear about anything if you can discipline yourself not to do it, because if you do indulge in it, you're going to be creating it. And this thing people pray to will just bring it to them. Manifested, the good and the bad, both. It's a teacher. We don't want to be slapping ourselves around this way every life, do we? You can't blame divine spirit or God for that because they don't even know what either one of those things really is. They just believe in it. There is another step people on earth must take under full disclosure, and that is to step away from belief and go into direct knowing, like other beings do in other worlds. And then all this animosity and differences and ego trips and vanity of who's better will disappear in a day on this planet. So we want to get to a point. Okay, I've used this before, but it's like the 100th monkey story. Now, the story goes like this. There's these two islands offshore from Japan. And on one island are these monkeys, right? And another island, and there's monkeys in Japan, yeah. These two islands. And people would feed them crates of fruit, bring and put on the beach, and the fruit would get in the sand and the monkeys would eat around it, right? And the monkeys on both islands have never been connected. They can't swim across the ocean. They're separated by distance. So one day a piece of fruit rolls out of a crate, goes in the ocean and washes off the sand. The monkey eats the whole thing, and he gets the bright idea, this one monkey, to wash his fruit from then on. Then all the monkeys on that island started doing it. Simultaneously, on an island not connected, all the monkeys started doing the same thing. Everything's connected. Now, if all the beings out there in the trillions are much more enlightened and don't have subconscious minds and travel the stars, that is an energy field moving through our solar system now that no little petty stuff on Earth will be able to resist. It's going to sweep through it, change things. The change can be serenity of being and peaceful, or people can be in terror through the change. It's going to come anyway. So at some point, people on Earth, enough people reach a point where this 100th monkey story applies. And it becomes a kinetic energy of its own life that connects to the massive beings out there. And it sweeps through the planet and starts miraculously changing things here for the better. This is not a new story. This has happened on other planets before. It's just not known on Earth. So that's important. Starlight's trying to, what are you talking about? I'm on a radio show. Okay, I'll tell you what, hold on a second. We'll just nip this in the bud.
Please wait for Scott to be back.
I'm going to be in the show without me. I think Starlight's saying we should go on a journey. He doesn't want to wait for us to quit yapping. He's my cat, and he's a buddy that goes on these journeys with me almost every radio show. Sometimes, the last few times, he's been a little disruptive, especially during a full moon. Well, he keep talking, so I call him Sir Talks a lot. But he's really trying to tell me something. Sometimes I listen. So the stuff that we're talking about has to do with real, true free will. And I can say that people on Earth think they know what that is, but they don't. They know there's something wrong with what they think of as free will here. Something's out of balance. Something doesn't work right here. And it has to do with how they utilize their creative imagination. And I'm not talking about what they make up in their brain, because the brain, the mechanism of the brain is not made to imagine anything. It's just people teaching them theory, this belief when they're growing up. And actually, there is no capability a brain has to imagine. That's not what it's for. The being that's running the brain and body, which is not a physical body, is what imagines. When people become aware of that again and have woken enough to remember it, their decisions on this planet will change dramatically. Governments, everybody. It's not so mysterious as it might seem if you understand the kind of energies that's out there amongst how many planets and how many worlds and how many dimensions and how many realities. You put that as one energy behind all that, supporting it. That's a living conscious energy, but it's one power. Beings like us are not that power. We do not hold it in our hands. We can't possess it. You can imagine in it and co-create with it, and it will bring into manifestation what we imagine. But we don't have the power to manifest anything. Brains and bodies don't do that. They're temporary. They live and die. No. The being does that. An intelligent, wise being would manifest things and bodies knowing they're not either, and then utilize them in wise ways for the good of all life. And that's just common, normal sense. Common sense. There's not very much common sense amongst people on this planet, or it wouldn't be in the condition it's in. Simple fact. Every action creates an equal but opposite reaction in time, space. What we think and feel and put out in the universe comes back to us. No one escapes it. You can rise above it, you can stop agreeing with it, you can stop contributing to it. But that takes conscious awareness and the use of the imagination to utilize it properly. And in only one way, for the uplifting benefit of all life. And it cannot work well just by doing it for life on Earth. Earth people have to embrace the greater cosmos. It's part of their, I hate to say it, but spiritual evolution. This planet and its misdirected people of psychotics and neurotics and fanatics, they do that because they're afraid and they want to have power over others so they don't get caught first. That's the nature of all tyrants. It's subconscious drives. That's the kind of thing that has to be cured on this planet. It's not about politics or whose party is best or what religion's best or worse. It's about subconscious fear. It's subconscious. People have a terrible time trying to remember what happened to them that made them so afraid to leave their body at will. They got to do it when the body dies anyway. What's the big deal about that? So people make things up. They say, well, you can't leave your body because then demons will get you. The fact is, demons have already got them. They're on Earth with no memory, or very little, about almost everything. And they look in the mirror and see a body and a brain and a body, and they say, that's what I am. And they see it growing old and slipping away, and they identify with it, and they get all afraid. But you see, the people on Earth should not be doing that. If they could get in and out of their body, the fear of this thing dying or staying would not be there in them. And they'd be making better energy decisions about what to do with this body, to preserve it, reverse the age, keep it around for some purpose, or drop it like a lead brick. See, there's a whole different way people have as a potential for creating with the source energy, prime creator. The 0 point toroidal energy, the first you, the first sound behind all creation, first half of the word human. The first sound is not a written word, and it is not nuclear atomic energy. It's the energy behind all that. God particle, as they said in the CERN Super Collider and the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland, when they crash particles together and they detect this energy that doesn't observe the law of physics, doesn't obey it. Something finer behind everything. They're just starting to uncover that on Earth. The people in other worlds have known that for millions of years or longer. People are afraid they're going to be dominated by humans that are a billion years beyond them. Beings that get that far and survive are not tyrants. It's contrary to tyrant nature to have any longevity in creation. It's negative and it's self-destructive. So this comes to the point of this entire talk, which is anything evil is anything that keeps or holds back a person from being a co-creator with the source behind all life. That's evil. Period. That's the answer. There's only one answer to it. People get mystified by negative and tyrant and power-hungry people, tend to put them on a pedestal, or they're afraid of them. And they seek to find the mystery of what they think is the genius of evil. There's no genius in it. It's deranged, neurotic, psychotic, out of balance behavior. There is no intelligence behind it. It's a trap. Real intelligence and real wisdom and how to function properly comes from the one source behind all life, from the hue itself. What happens when we do this? Something vibrates the pineal gland, the center of the brain. In the Vatican, they have a statue of a big pine cone in the courtyard. And they want to hoard that. They don't want to reveal what they know about it because it represents the pineal gland. That's a doorway to awareness for human beings on Earth. Beings like that are also going to have to disclose what they know. They're not going to have a choice in this matter coming up soon. They just won't. It does not mean that these changes will be destructive or that anybody will be harmed or shot or executed or any of this nonsense. It means that unexpected events are coming to this planet that will help people make this transition, or they'll never get out of it on their own. We're not alone in the universe, fortunately, or we would not survive. It's not possible for a secluded bunch of people on one planet, cut off from everything else, to chart their way in eternity and survive. If you cut yourself off from being consciously linked to that one toroidal 0 point energy, eventually you wither like a drop on the hot sand, evaporates, and you're gone. So there's a destructive side to that. Let's see what Starlight really wants. I'm going to bring him in here. Fine, Starlight. Okay, but it's not going to be about food, right? Okay, come here. My little buddy. I want you to join our radio show. I'd love you to go with us. We're waiting for you, and you're waiting for us, right? Okay. All right, here we go. You want to go on the journey, Starlight, out of your body? Go see Etta? Want to go see Etta? Come on. Come on over here. Come on. It's okay. You should be peaceful. There you go.
So when we have a private group session, Starlight is always there with us, going to the journey with us. So he's ready, I think.
Yeah, you just got to get him calmed down because I want him to go to sleep, put his body to sleep. Come on, sweetie. Come on. It's okay. Yeah. We're listening. We're listening. So you might see, people might see this radio and say, what's he doing letting that cat in the room? And isn't it disruptive? No, it's not. He's actually quite an integral part of these journeys. And this little cat, the being, the spherical atma that runs this body, it's no better or worse or less than any of us. He's just running a cat body, but he's very advanced as a being, and he goes on journeys even into the high realities beyond the void with me. And with Etta, and you find out who Etta is, he's not even human. So it's no big deal, these things, to people that haven't been brought up on Earth, who were born in ignorance and kept in blank, mindless fear from discovering who they are before they were born here or what they used to know. So that's what these journeys are about. When we go on these journeys, I like to get the bodies rested, usually close the eyes, sit back in a chair or lie in a bed and relax. And then I ask people to first imagine someone they love and respect and they're grateful they are in their life. And it can be a person, place, or thing. But something that inspires them to feel good within themselves. A child's smile, a hummingbird flying in front of your face, talking to you. I've had that happen in my life. And it wasn't a hummingbird and it wasn't a human being. Something much more advanced. These aren't things that I need to justify or prove to other people. I know them without doubt. Other people can know them too if they have the experience, so we have something common to communicate about between us in this way. Human beings on Earth are capable of the greatest achievements, capable of the most wondrous new expressions of co-creativity with the source behind all life, but they've long been made to forget all that. These journeys put out on this earth and on Perry's YouTube channel and out into the world, radio shows I've been on my websites, on my YouTube channel, which is R. Scott Lemriel - Parallel Time. And you'd find that there are 31 very short, very powerful, very uplifting, orchestrated, narrated or non-narrated videos with orchestrated music about the books that are published in this work for your benefit. There's no charge. No charge is ever created for any of these videos. No one pays for them. They are for the public of this world at no charge. The radio shows we do with Perry, there's no money involved. The books are sold so they can be printed on demand and provided for people around the world, or I could never get them to them. They can get an ebook or a trade paperback and see the illustrations in the emerald doorway of characters and scenes. They can go on the visual journey that the Sayre's Agenda book represents. There are special techniques involving the first half of the word human and what it does in the back of that book. It's relatively inexpensive to get one of those compared to the stuff junk people buy every day. So they are like created to be interdimensional doorways because of how they're constructed and what they stimulate to come to the surface in people who explore them. In time, they begin to remember so much they were made to forget. This is something people have to experience for themselves. They can, and what I put out by demonstration, as do the beings I work with not from Earth. It is telepathic. This means, as a spherical being hovering above this body, which I am, which all of you are, there is a kind of communication that is pure, that takes place in the omnipresent hue, first sound, first word, toroidal energy, 0-point energy of the universe, that is an energy that in which all things create gravitational fields in which they float. It is non-nuclear and non-atomic, but it is energy. It is primordial or first energy. When we go into the hue, we connect to that, to whatever degree you're aware of or not. And it's like telling the source behind all life that you're ready to journey back home, even while your body's alive. Because the principle is we exist as Atmas, as individual beings, to one day become trustworthy co-creators with that source energy. It is not energy at its highest source that is meant to be prayed to. We are meant to know it and respect it and each other. This is real divine love. People on Earth don't understand this yet, but they will. They're capable of it. When I put out the hue, I go in successively higher tones in order to address forms you're running in different lives on different planes. As a single spherical Atma, we are multidimensional in characteristic and capability. We run more than one physical body at a time, one on Earth, one in the astral, one in the causal, one in the mental, one in the etheric. That's at least 5. And then all of those go into the sleep state in a natural way, just like you put your body to sleep every night anyway, like experts. And it's run automatic so that you can leave it. As a spherical being, your other bodies are put asleep at the same time on these different higher energy planes of existence, below the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth. And then we move out into the cosmos, experiencing more wonders. People on Earth are not brought up to have any subconscious support or any kind of support to know how to use higher faculties to bring back what it is they do when they leave the body every night. So they don't normally bring much back, which means people on Earth, it's said, use 6 to 10% of a 100% developed brain. That's idiotic. They only use that much because all the rest of the higher faculties are dormant or shut off. And they don't know how to use them, don't remember how to use them. Now, I'm strictly speaking about the people on this one little planet Earth, because the greater predominant worlds out there in the galaxy of the Milky Way alone are not like people on Earth. Can you imagine how shocking that will be for people who self-righteously think they're God's supreme creation on this one little planet, which is nothing more than a fear-ridden block that keeps them from embracing the greater God out there? Not the space God, not the galaxies, not the physical dimension, but all the way up through the planes to the real source itself. But the more advanced extraterrestrial races in this and other galaxies are referred to as prime creator. They do not worship it. They respect and understand the energy that's emanated through the planes from that as one toroidal 0-point energy of the universe. If you don't respect that, you will never have the secrets revealed to you about how to move around in it beyond the speed of light, or how to circumnavigate interdimensional doorways, because those doorways are guarded. If people want to play in space, they better darn well grow up on this planet in order to accept humbly the great gifts these people from there are capable of giving to us at no cost or charge. You'd be amazed if you understood how governments on this planet, in their own fear, have refused this decades ago. This world could have been changed already. The only thing that kept it from happening was their own ego trips and their own fear. That's it. Their own subconscious drives that make them make decisions that are not the best and that create negative repercussions in space-time. And when it comes back to bite them in the rear end, they throw more money at the problem to try to fix it. And it's a dwindling downward spiral. To reverse that, one goes into the first energy, connects with it, and then it starts to educate and train, provide the miracles, provide the wisdom, and the crossing of paths with beings and experiences which awaken or enlighten consciousness. The fastest way to do that is to come to understand and imagine a greater universe than just Earth. Be able to respect the life in it. It doesn't mean we are doormats for any other race. It means that we respect all life. And by doing so, the greater majority of life out there has a way to connect with us directly. They're not tyrants. They're not going to force it on people, but I can tell you this with certainty of knowing. Nuclear war was only prevented on this planet by them, not by the classified people on this world. Or we would all be annihilated now from nuclear war. Everything's connected in the 0-point energy. When people on Earth learn this understanding, like other races have, their advancements in science, cures for disease, genetic science to turn back on genomes that are turned off in human bodies that have been passed on genetically for thousands of years, it can all be reversed. One thing at a time. Now I will go into these hues, and then your body will go to sleep. And you might hear sounds outside and people walking by. That's okay. Because there is an energy still connected through the pineal gland, the center of the brain, to wherever you are when we're out traveling. A form of guidance and protection from you to that body. Connected to it is a white, golden, thin beam of energy. It is not a silver cord or a golden cord or an astral cord or anything like that that can be broken. It is not made up of nuclear atomic energy that can be attacked or severed or invaded or intruded upon. The more people become aware of how the hue works and the protections it provides, the better off they will be. The first half of the word human, hidden in plain sight, is not copyrighted, patented, or owned by any organization or religion on this planet, and no person on Earth ever invented it. It existed before the lower worlds of time and space were even constructed. You try to possess that and sell it, you are in deep doo-doo. Sooner or later, it will teach you better. I imagine again someone you love and respect, you're grateful they're in your life, a person, place, or thing, and then use your faculty of daydreaming. People on Earth know what that means. You just imagine being somewhere else while you're sitting there with your eyes open at work or in a classroom and you're bored, and you imagine being at the beach or in the mountains. That's daydreaming. But when the eyes are seeing and receiving light from outside, like the parking lot and the classroom or the office, and they're imagining being on a beach or even on another planet, the brain is not seeing that. The brain is seeing what's coming into you through light through the eyes, reflected on the back of the optic nerve and picked up. The pineal gland, the center of the brain, works like the eyes in that it has rods and cones in it and a liquid, but they're tuned to higher frequencies, other realities, other locations in time, space, and beyond time, space. And I will begin those tones now to assist you all to get the bodies to sleep, emotionally and physically and mentally. And then you, the real being, can go out and play among the stars with kind, advanced beings. The hue opens doorways. It's designed, I might add, for the individual being to awaken their innate sleeping or dormant higher faculties of knowing, direct perception, to understand their purpose for existing, and that is to be a trustworthy, fully conscious co-creator with the source behind all life. That means we are meant to imagine that which will be of uplifting benefit to all life in our own unique experience over billions of years, which we've all did, and bring it home. This doesn't mean a body dies or you lose a body or you give up your responsibilities or family. It means you're able to do this while the body's still alive on Earth or any other planet. I live and have bodies on a number of majestic, wonderful worlds other than the physical universe or planet Earth, other than where I lived on Norexilum or Telemedea. In the astral plane, much larger universe, 144 parallel dimensions, above the 144 physical parallel dimensions in time-space. And above that, the causal, where I live on an island on a gigantic world. And I'm an ambassador between millions of world systems there. And in the mental plane, where I am a scientist with many others, on a massive world with violet beaches. You look out in the sun at daytime and you see stars so close to this planet. You can see big blue giant stars out there and red, yellow ones, red dwarfs and yellow ones like our sun, close to this world or near enough so that in daytime you can see the stars in space. It appears like twilight there. The bodies are humanoid, but much taller than Earth bodies. In the etheric, the body I have there is mostly energy and appears physical but transparent. When we go above the void, we put all those bodies aside on automatic, travel across the void, and then enter the upper realities from whence we all once came. Not as physical appearing bodies, as a spherical being, soul, Atma. So you might say, or you should say, that we as you man, you woman, you children, you animals, you plants, you everything, are made in the image of the source, or exist as a part, a drop out of a mighty ocean of that same source, made of exactly the same energy. And this is who and what we really are. Human bodies, as they're known on Earth with 2 arms and legs, is not in the image of the source. There are many advanced human and humanoid bodies that beings run, non-human and others, very advanced and very kind. And they all co-create with the source energy, the one energy of the universe. It is a living, omnipresent, co-creative energy. You can pray to it if you want to, which is just another form of watered down imagination. Or you can step forward and imagine wondrous new ways of doing things in co-creative harmony with massive numbers of being beyond this earth and bring about real change. We are not alone in creation. Everything is connected. Every being is connected to every other being in that one omnipresent living energy field. First sound, first word, hue man, hue woman, first half of the word, hidden in plain sight. It did not get originated on planet Earth at all. None of the races present on planet Earth evolved on this planet. Not one. They represent whole world systems around different suns out there where they're mostly Asian or mostly African American, as they're called on Earth, or Caucasian, or Nordics, or some other race. Here's the thing that's really going to shock people on Earth when they really have the courage to step forward. And that is this: they are all extraterrestrial in origin. So why would people on Earth be afraid of their own past, their own heritage and along the past time track or out in the upper worlds? There's only one thing in the way of that, and that is fear. Afraid to remember, afraid to recall, afraid to accept their responsibility for the purpose for which we exist. That means becoming godlike or godly-like as men and women. That means we have to respect all life, our environment, air, water, plants, animals, everything. In reality, the Atma derives its energy right from the one power. Human bodies on Earth need to eat food because the consciousness is so brainwashed, people would kill themselves or starve to death if they didn't eat animals or seafood. I don't eat either. I'm not telling people to suddenly become vegetarians. That takes an act of pure choice of free will when you're ready. We do not get our energy from things anyway. The skin is the biggest organ of a human body, and it breathes in energy and oxygen. If you painted someone's body with paint and sealed the pores, even though they can breathe through their mouth and lungs, they would still suffocate. People on Earth don't know very much about any of this. So I say to people, be sincere in exploring the hue for your own benefit. Awaken yourself if you have the courage to do it. Understand that when you work with the hue, a certain protection comes along with it that is important each person experience for themselves. Don't take my word for it. I don't recommend that. I do recommend you work with what we do on these journeys, work with the techniques in the back of the Series Addenda book, explore and co-creatively awaken or enlighten yourself, because this is our purpose. It clears the way. It brings about a calm serenity of being. And you're going to notice when you work with the hue, it will shut off fear, like turning off a light switch. I'm speaking of subconscious fear. It gives the opportunity to the being to begin to progress while that's shut off. It's the reason we work with those different higher pitched U's at the beginning. There are beings that would be assigned to anybody that's sincere from other worlds, very, very advanced, very well trained, very experienced, who will assist each of you when you get out of your bodies at night and you put that body to sleep. If you ask them, they will help you keep fears of the unknown and the great one source turned off until you can embrace it to such a degree that that stuff is removed permanently. The subconscious fear and negative nature, because that's artificially created. What is being shared with you here is that negative emotions and imagination are not now, nor have they ever been, a true part of the nature of the Atma, or soul, the individual spherical being. It has structure and shape, and it's made of energy, but not nuclear or atomic in nature. The Atma is not DNA. Advanced physical bodies, human, were developed to that point long ago out in galactic history, billions of years ago, in order for Atmas to run them and gain experience at different dimensions of the time rate of matter. One parallel dimension as molecular time rate on one level, like where Earth is, and another Earth exists on a slightly higher frequency of molecular time rate for that entire dimension, and so forth and so on. Imagine, daydream, that you are hovering near the ceiling as a spherical bright light, maybe a couple of feet wide, with a white core in the center, and you can see this in yourself. And then you have layers of teardrop-shaped lights, built-in layers, concentric layers going out that cover the spectrum of the color of light itself. From a white core, vibrant and radiant, the real you, to a layer that's yellow, a certain thickness. Each of these little self-effulgent, self-luminant teardrops are higher faculties of being. Another layer a little further out is orange, then green, then blue, and violet, and lavender, and kind of a white golden light around. And that around this spherical being that we are is what's called a toroidal energy field on Earth. The same kind of thing that emits from a planet as a gravitational field and goes around and comes up through the South Pole exists around each Atma. It exists around the planet. It exists around an entire galaxy. And the top part of this curved energy connects to the bottom curved part of a doorway to the next higher dimension. There are doorways called concentric generators. One time rate comes down and slows down to this slower one, and they create a vortex. Energy is passed through that from a higher level to support the lower level, a different lower frequency, a different level of creation. More advanced beings go through these openings to get all over creation. And they are guarded. They're guarded to protect us from ourselves more than anything else. So there's a certain criteria which is required for an advanced ship, say in the physical universe, to go through one of these openings into another higher parallel dimension, still in the physical universe where planets exist also. The greater organization of worlds near the galactic core, not at it, near it, is called the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, made up of more than 450, probably 500 million spacefaring advanced races now. Million. It's represented by 5,000 members on a planet called Zeolite, and they meet and represent all those world systems. It is the greater organization in which smaller organizations belong, that people may have heard about on the internet at UFO and disclosure conferences and things like this. Most of the races that are out there, people have never even heard about yet on the internet, at UFO conferences or disclosure groups because they're not known on Earth yet. They will be. People of Earth are atmas running bodies that have been made from one reason or another to forget all about what they once knew. And they're stuffed in a body on Earth with no memory or very little. This is something that can be reversed. You are near the ceiling, hovering there, looking down on your body that is asleep. It's the same thing you put your body in every single night. Because of my voice and the telepathic nature of what we're doing here, many other beings I work with who are telepathically in communication with me, they do not channel through me, they do not control me. We co-create together consciously. When I went into the hues, they were doing them with me from outside the planet. Why? Because Earth's atmosphere is compacted with all the negative stuff that people have ever done to each other and imagined since the history of this planet began. And that history goes back 65 million years after the dinosaurs were made extinct on this planet. And all those energies are still circulating like radio waves, bouncing off the ionosphere, and they're still in the atmosphere. Responsibly, all that should be gone, cleaned up. So people pick up and get influenced by these things as well as their own nature. So we conduct our exploration starting from outside the negative atmosphere of Earth. I love the planet, don't get me wrong, but the people on it don't remember enough to guide a herd of turtles. Really. They have the potential, every one of us, to remember. They have to want to move forward at some point. This sound vibrates through the cosmos of the physical universe, through that black area people see or think it's black and dark between planets and suns and galaxies and billions of other galaxies, and it appears black, but it isn't. It only appears that way to the limits of the small range of vision human eyes allow them on Earth. So they rely on other electronic instrumentation to interpret what higher frequencies would look like in color. And they make composite photographs they print out, and then you see all these wondrous galaxies and all this color. When you're out of your body, when each of us are above this world, you can look into that black area and you find out suddenly it's not black at all. It's a white golden light permeating everything, everywhere. The Earth with its polar ice caps, which you can see right now, because we are now outside the planet Earth, hovering in space, not as physical beings, but as a higher energy in a spherical form, around a friend of mine who's also a spherical being and has manifested a physical body made of pure energy in space, so you have something to identify him with. This energy around us, the planet circles in orbit. The moon does not circle, it just circles the planet but doesn't turn on its axis. Very little gravitational field there. No atmosphere to speak of. And there's the brilliant sun, medium-sized yellow out in the distance. And all the stars, the billions that make up the stars of the Milky Way galaxy we live in. And then you see this white golden light. And you can see all the stars clearly hovering in this other energy, suspended in it. Galaxies turn on their axis because it creates a gravitational toroidal field that allows it to float on this or in this one energy field. The toroidal energy coming to the top pole of an entire galaxy is connected to the bottom toroidal energy of something higher. And there is a conduit created between them. The very more advanced spacefaring races know how to circumnavigate through those, but they can also go through many doorways that exist throughout the universe. You have to know how to find them, and you have to know how to circumnavigate them. To do that, we have to respect and come to understand the nature of this one energy. It is non-nuclear and non-atomic. If you want to know the secret of moving beyond the speed of light, anti-gravitic propulsion systems and such, they are developed to channel this one energy without polluting or using energy at all. That's the future of space travel, not rocket ships. They're too slow. To go from here to Mars, people would have to be in a rocket ship, even with artificial gravity, 2 years each way at top speed. People aren't designed to handle that without going nuts. Also, if they go to a planet like Mars in zero gravity, they will not survive the journey. This is a proven fact. It's well known in NASA and in Russia both that when a man from each country went aboard the International Space Station and stayed in space for a year in zero gravity, their bones atrophied, they had neurological problems, and they had to be rehabilitated when they came back. That's for 1 year. So minimum artificial gravity, and that's classified, so it'd have to be disclosed to people who want to explore space, or they won't make it. Not in rocket ships. There are craft that are capable of going outside the atmosphere of this planet, even now on Earth, that are not propelled this way. They are limited to our solar system, and there is a reason for that. Here in space, you're floating around a being named Ambassador Torellian. He is from the Seres human race, prototypical, most ancient human race, billions of years old. They did not evolve as these tall human beings when they had physical bodies in our galaxy or in Andromeda. Over 1 billion years ago, they reached a point of their unfoldment where they dematerialized their physical bodies and stored the DNA in one of the teardrops of the Atma they are. When they need it for any reason, should they need one, they draw upon the energy of the universe and instantly materialize one to carry out a mission. They do not have the burden, like we do, of running a physical body around day and night like on Earth. We get our genomes or DNA for all types of human beings on Earth originally from them. But they have many more strands of DNA than us. This body he's showing you is 18 feet tall. Like a Greek god, 36, slightly curly blonde, long hair, big blue eyes, slightly pointed ears like an elf. Perfectly formed, standing there with his 2 thumbs up with a golden field ball of energy around each one, of a higher nature of energy than the atmosphere around us in space, which is a white golden light. If you look above this being, you'll see a round, beautiful, radiant, spherical orb, and then you see across from him, each of us in a circle around him, floating in space. And behold, you see a body looks just like you, perfectly formed, flawlessly healthy, standing in space in front of a sphere that you are. And it turns around and smiles and looks up to the white core of your being. And you look back down at that. And you realize that the body form here and you are one and the same. The energy around Torellian's hands comes from a higher reality above the void. It's still the hue. It's still the omnipresent sound, but on a higher frequency. And he's setting up a space and energy field around us. And you're going to see a man and a woman appear, beautifully elegant, about 36, dressed in single form extraterrestrial garb. Some of them are from the Galactic Alliance, others are master teachers. And you're going to see them approach you at a distance, 5 or 6 feet away, and smile with their right hand held up in greeting. These beings can assist all of you if you ask them. When you're out of your body every night, they can help you recover who and what you are and what you once knew, even while you're living on Earth. They are not tyrants. They will only do this if you request it of them. For now, they are actually keeping your negative emotions and imagination subconsciously turned off with the sleeping body back on Earth. When you listen with the white core of your being, and even the ears on this physical form you have standing here around Torellian in space, you can hear the omnipresent sound of the physical universe running through 144 parallel dimensions of time-space, just for the physical major division. It sounds like rumbling thunder under your feet, but it's not disturbing. It's a deep rumbling, but it's pleasant. And when you listen to the white energy that surrounds us, it sounds like millions of men and women's voices with perfect vocal cords singing the hue on multi-dimensional levels. And you look up and you begin to see that this extends up into divisions of other dimensions. If you wish to ask questions of this man and woman who are assigned to you only by your agreement and free will choice, unaffected by subconscious negativity. Make a wise choice here outside of Earth's atmosphere, outside of the negative atmosphere. The energy that surrounds planet Earth out in space, you cannot program or record in it to negative emotions or imagination of any kind. This energy does not record such things. It is not positive and negative, not nuclear. It is the energy behind and around and supporting all things that float in it. Duh. I mean, when you're out here, it becomes quite clear and obvious that you used to know this long ago very well. Something happened along the way in your many lives out in the universe that were predominantly out there more than ever lived on Earth, that caused you to end up, for one reason or another, on Earth in a body, being born and growing up with little or no former memory intact. Being up here is the beginning of reversing that. The hue, the omnipresent energy of the universe, this new ray of consciousness moving through it, is sweeping from the higher realities through the galaxies, through the Milky Way, through pyramids stationed between stars now, and in our solar system to another one stationed in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter, to Earth, and there are 3 stationed on the planet, 2 at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans and 1 inside a hollowed-out interior in a mountain in the Himalaya. And they have a function and a purpose. There is something inside them. They are manifest in physical matter, but they aren't made of physical matter. There is no weaponry or technology or psychology or consciousness of any being that can affect them in any way, shape, or form. And they are turned on and moving in one direction and one direction only. The white golden light that surrounds us here cannot be manipulated or used for negative purposes. It supports all life. It will co-create with beings whatever they imagine, good or bad. And when people do both at the same time, which most people on Earth do, they're creating their own hell without realizing it. Because that thing they pray to, that thing they imagine in, is a co-creator. It's a living energy, one power, one force from the source, and it co-creates with us. It's a teacher. So we want to be aware, to choose, to only co-create that which will be of an uplifting benefit to all life, not just life on Earth, all of it. If people want freedom as beings returned to them in the universe, they have to be able to understand and know the nature of the multidimensional universe and the life in it and respect it. That is embracing the one source, the prime creator behind all life. And nothing short of that will do it. The ultimate prayer, The ultimate divine love is respecting all life. And to do that, it needs to be direct, conscious, personal experience. Whether they know it or not, human beings, fellow beings on earth, are capable of having this return under the right conditions. The hue, the first half of the word human, is all around us. It is the Akasha energy in the atmosphere, and a lower energy is prana. And then there's the energy of physical matter itself that those energies support. But the hue is behind them all the way through all the multi-dimensional nature of creation. We are now and have always been spherical beings, and we have not at any time ever been a physical body. They are devices we run to gain experience in different planes, made out of the matter, the time rate of the matter of each division. The genomes on the DNA, the twin-stranded double helix of, as it's known on Earth, has been manipulated in times past. And certain genomes out of the billion that are mapped out on the DNA, they're all switches that determine your hair color, when you die, and how you'll die, how tall you are, what sex you are, what race you are. But certain ones have been turned off. Photographic memory, real photographic memory, is not something that's made up in the brain. Telepathy is not something the brain does either. Forget about trying to find it there and measure it. Brain impulses, alpha or gamma or any of these other rays, because it's not to be found there. Utilizing 100% of 100% of the brain that's already developed makes sense. That's how normal human beings run those mechanisms, those DNA forms they run around without remembering, except more advanced beings, what it is and who they are that's running that brain, usually from outside the body altogether. And that energy is not part of time and space, and it moves through an ether of energy that is not time and space either. I'm asking Ambassador Torelli and some other master teachers who are here, I have yet to introduce. Some of you may have already seen them standing off in different distances with the spherical being they are, hovering above the perfect body form they're showing you. You can see several thousand men and women forming a circle of spherical beings that surround us, and in front of them, individual male and female bodies perfectly formed, about 36. Different hair color, different eyes, some red, some violet, gold, different colored hair, silver hair, green hair, snake-like skin, beautiful, tall, short, all kinds of races. And every one of those 2,000 beings are master teachers out in the multiverse. They are here to help protect and observe and respect who and what we all really are. They are creating a field of energy to encourage you to go forward and not be afraid. When you work with the hue deeply enough, you will feel uplifted, serene in the core of your being. Pain vanishes and you become more enlightened. As more energy passes through the pineal gland into your brain, it turns more brain cells on. Basically, it turns on your ability to run higher faculties through that brain, so you use the 100%. The faculties we're talking about are not in the brain and never have been. They got that all wrong on Earth. Human bodies are not made in the image of something divine or the source. The spherical being, the soul or Atma, is. Just knowing this one little bit of information can ultimately change a person's life forever. It begins a process of reversing what took place for each one of us that eventually brought us to Earth in a body with no memory or little memory of what came before. This sound mimics the sound of creation, the 0-point energy, and connects with it through the pineal gland. That's there so that you, the being, can bring back awareness of what you're doing and download it into that brain through the pineal gland, which doesn't get stored in the brain either. It moves out into the toroidal electromagnetic field of energy that surrounds your body and is stored there. It's also first stored in the toroidal field of energy that surrounds the spherical atma hovering above that body. The same toroidal field of energy surrounds the planet Earth and the moon. It is very different around the moon because the moon does not turn on its axis as it should. The same type of toroidal energy exists around the poles of the sun and the poles of a galaxy and the poles of a multi-galactic nature. And they connect doorways between this reality, higher parallel dimensions, major higher divisions, up through a vast area called the void to certain esoteric groups on Earth, made of a cobalt blue, light blue type of energy. Doesn't look like there's anything there, so some people have concluded there's nothing there. It's the end of all. It's the source of the Supreme Being. It's not. You have to be able to imagine and travel beyond that into the upper realities where there is no positive and negative. There is no opposites, no time and space. It's a pure positive energy. Each Atma comes from that place above the void or higher. When I'm sharing these words with you, understand that my body is in the trance state called sleep and that I'm operating above it, speaking with all of you. This is recorded on Zoom so that that recording can then be sent to Perry. She puts it up on her YouTube channel, Awaken Hidden Truth, and there it's there for all to find as and when they co-create doing so. It is there for every single being on this planet. Government, kings, queens, the mass of people, different religions, classified people, people from other worlds. It is designed to be of benefit to all. When you look at the Earth from here, with Terrellian pointing at it, you can see the Earth change like the heat wave in a desert. We're simply moving the vibration to a little higher molecular time rate, to a higher parallel dimension, and you see the Earth suddenly there, but with no polar ice caps. Mostly water covered, big continent over the front side from the left hemisphere to the right hemisphere. As the Atma, you can see through it and see there's another continent center over the equator on the opposite side of the planet. You can see the moon here turning on its axis, circling and orbiting the Earth. Full atmosphere, clear dome cities in various places, rivers and lakes, little mountains and streams, and 3 4-sided gold-sided, looks like quartz-capped pyramids in each side, each dome on one end. This moon is alive with life, has a gravitational field, affects the planet's water differently as it turns or orbits the planet. On the Earth, the big continent, you can see down near the southern pole, about a third of the way above it, centered right in the middle of the equator, is a upward curved, crescent-shaped, glowing emerald green beach. You can see it from space. And you're drawn to it. Tyrellian's moving down toward it, and all of us in a circle around him. And the 2,000 people around us are moving down into the atmosphere of Earth, down towards that green beach. And as we approach it through the clouds, you begin to see that there's a tropical paradise that surrounds that green beach, and a brown moss-covered path that goes back right cleared in the center of it, several miles, and it winds its way up to a mountainside, to a single snow-capped mountain. And down on the lower plateau on an upper level is a gigantic dome covering a city. When you look up the mountainside, 2/3 of the way near the top, you see a cavernous opening, and out of it is pouring a blue-green luminous waterfall, dropping thousands of feet down a sheer cliff face, where it disappears into a mystical blue-green forest that surrounds the backside of this dome city. It becomes a river that lazily winds itself down the lower plateaus and empties into the sea. The dome city has 3 golden, 4-sided, quartz-like capped pyramids near the left end, and a oval blue-green luminous lake, and a semicircular mountain range around the curved backside. It's miles wide and very, very high. It's way down below the top of the peak of this mountain. And then you see little ivory-colored dome dwellings and little white marble paths leading everywhere around this place. And off to the pyramids, and there's some crystalline towers, and those are laboratories for Galactic Alliance personnel, for Ambassador Tyrellian, for beings like Opelum, who you can see now as one of the beings around us, standing in the atmosphere with pale blue skin, emerald green eyes, and jet black hair, about 6 feet tall. The Atma hovering above him. He is a master teacher from a planet called Oceana, which is on a world on the other side of the Milky Way, in this same parallel dimension where this planet is we are visiting. The continent we're on is Lemuria, or Mu. This is on an Earth world in a higher parallel dimension where the poles never flipped and it was never destroyed. A protected place. The Atlantean colony continent on the other side is in harmony with this one master continent. This is quite different from the Earth you know of, and is in existence in a higher molecular time rate. These 2,000 master teachers come from all over the galaxy, also work in laboratories there. The laboratories there are for creating ways to solve the enigma of the failed experiment of evil, which is being retired, for something better to take its place that actually works, to motivate beings to be co-creators with the source, the purpose for our existing. When you look down, suddenly you see your bare feet in this 36-year-old body. Looks just like you, perfectly healthy though. Not like the body you grew up with, but it looks like you, but flawless. And you're wiggling your toes in this luminous emerald green sand, glowing about a foot above the sand of this huge, curved, going inland, this crescent-shaped emerald green glowing beach. The ocean water is blue-green behind you and is also luminous with a glowing mineral. Ambassador Tyrellian is standing up to his knees in the ocean offshore, smiling, 18 feet tall, the Atma above him. He still has his 2 hands up, the thumbs up, with a golden white light around them, as a focal point to provide a safe space for us to journey and have safe experience. And you reach down and pick up in this perfect hand, and you see that these little glowing particles of sand are rounded or polished, clear crystal emeralds. And they have a charge in them. That charge moves up your hand, up to the top of your smiling face and head, right up into the white core of your being, hovering above this form, and out to the green layer, and into a number of the teardrop shapes, turning them on for the first time in probably several billion years. The green is for remembering what you once knew and acquiring the wisdom from the hue in the green light to know how to work higher faculties and use them correctly. It is about recall and remembering what can be known in the multidimensional universe of time and space below the void. We're moving as a group now, Tyrellian's leading the way. We're all spherical beings centered around him like a center of a universe with planets revolving around it. This is just for focus to keep us all together. And we move over the top of the jungle trees until we come to a white marble floor about 100 feet across, cut out of the jungle, and standing in the middle of it is a quartz crystal polished statue of a 10-foot tall woman. She has both hands up, palms out, with a sphere of green light around it, and you get the connection right away that this statue is a device that's charging that sand. You look at this woman, she has an elegant long gown on. Beautiful form, but taller, longer neck, longer fingers than people on Earth. And you can see inside the surface of the polished crystal, the woman behind the face of the crystal staring at you. She has long silver metallic-like hair, like silver metal, but you know it's soft, but silver. Obviously not from Earth. And these beautiful violet eyes, oval eyes. Trim features. The long silver hair and a gold band around her forehead with a teardrop faceted emerald crystal. And when you look in this crystal, you can see through this device into a huge green atmosphere, and she's floating, standing in the center of it, asking you to come in. The next instant, you find that Tyrellian and all of us and 2,000 other people are floating in this vast green field of energy. She's standing in the center of it. And then a male appears next to her, her mate, her other significant other, a little taller, silver hair, violet eyes. And they come from a planet on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, in the physical parallel dimension where Earth is, but a much more evolved world. Now, what she's showing you is that she and her husband have created this device, this doorway from their world to this beach, to this Earth in a higher parallel dimension for your benefit. That domed city below the base of that mountain is there to one day, in a sense, copy it and superimpose it over the Earth we know of, and over the moon that is barren and dead, and make it like this world. When things are ready, this will be done. This world is protected and shielded. No negative beings or technology or nature has ever gone there and never will. The Say rays, like Tyrellian, see to that. There are people and beings in the universe who we would call silent mentors, very much more advanced than the Say rays, who run the mechanics of creation and keep it all in place. Not long ago, they permanently stopped the flipping of Earth's poles every 100,000 years, which would destroy the land masses, rise new continents up from the seafloor, and destroy almost all life. So Earth has had this golden age to iron age, which has come to a permanent end, fortunately. Earth has had a significant disadvantage because of this compared to other worlds. So we're hovering around this statue. Actually, we're both outside of it and inside it at the same time. We have multidimensional capability as a spherical being. We're observing it from outside and observing it from inside. And the two of them Dontalis Freshen Muntus, their names, but you'll find that out. And they are showing what their world looks like projected into the green atmosphere. There's a world there hovering in a space on the other side of the galaxy, 4 times larger than Earth, no polar ice caps, little continents all over the surface and little oceans between them with domed cities all over, symmetrically placed like a grid pattern. They have 3 moons circling it with no polar ice caps the size of Earth and domed cities on them. And in the distance, you can see that this planet and its 3 moons circle a trinary sun system. That means the main sequence star is a blue giant, a young star. One further out that circles it is a yellow sun, medium-sized like our sun. Further out is a red dwarf. And this planet circles all 3 further out. This is the reason there are no polar ice caps on these worlds. They are balanced. There are trinary, binary, and quadary sun systems out there that people on it are just finding out exist out in the Milky Way. This is a connection visually for all of you on this journey that you can go on again. Certainly when you play this recording back, close your eyes and go again on this journey. And you will realize when you do that, you will acquire a great deal more awareness of what the extent of what we've done and are doing on this journey. Because all of this needs to be downloaded to the best of your ability to the toroidal electromagnetic field around your body and the one above the sphere hovering above it, so you can enlighten or expand the consciousness and remember much more in the life you're living on Earth in that body and through that form. All of us are suddenly find ourselves hovering around Turelian, high above the dome city at the base of the snow-capped mountain. And then it becomes apparent how big this place is. There are circular landing pads around the front circumference, half circumference of this dome. There are disc-shaped anti-gravitic craft landed there, and one very large vehicle called a Spectrum ship that's made of elongated triangular points around a central sphere. It's an Oceanian craft and much more advanced than most spacecraft in our galaxy. When you look at the waterfall pouring out of this cave 2/3 of the way up towards the summit, you see another cavern above it. It's oval with little dome-shaped lights leading into the interior of the mountain. You can see a 30-foot diameter anti-gravitic ship with a cobalt blue glass-like top, blue-gray metal, exit that cave and hover down and land on one of the pads near the outside of the dome. That tunnel leads into a lower parallel dimension, 2 parallel dimensions down, and comes out in a hollowed out interior in the Mount Shasta Mountain in Northern California. That is a Galactic Alliance base built there in 1908. Because of its presence there secretly and other reasons, Earth has been prevented from having a nuclear war. We are not alone in the universe. You're going to find Turelian now zipping up towards that cavern above the waterfall, and we follow them one at a time. All of us enter that tunnel. You see how wide it is. It's like 60 feet wide with little dome lights lighting it. And it goes into this mountain and winds itself down like a roller coaster ride into lower molecular time rate frequency. And it comes out through an oval opening, and suddenly we come out into a huge floor made of looks like marble. And the inside of this hollowed out interior has little pockets of big emerald crystals, gold veins. They're not of value to these people, but they were left there for the aesthetic beauty when this place was built. And in the distance, you can see a 5-story high rectangular building with octagon-shaped windows and 24 rows of these scout craft disc-shaped vehicles landed on a launch bay floor. There are personnel inside, you can see through the clear windows on different levels, busy doing things from different planets. And out of the middle of it is a walkway that is going into the oval opening of a cigar-shaped craft about 300 feet long with an anti-gravitic blue field of energy humming around it. And people are coming into and out of it and going into this building. When you look up at the ceiling, you can see these dome-shaped lights create a field of energy that makes the interior of this dome look like balanced sunlight. And at the top of the ceiling are 2 semicircular doors which are opened. And the top of the extinct caldera of Mount Shasta, and they are shielded. Just looks like snow if you were up there, a glacier. This whole base is in a slightly higher parallel dimension of time-space so that it's protected from prying eyes and prying technologies. It allows the beings there to work in secret without fan or flash or fanfare for other purposes than power, glory, and money and fame and fortune. These beings are not from Earth and they don't covet such things. And then you see the doors open up. And suddenly all of us are shot up through it until we're hovering around Turelian, back out in space. High enough in space to see the polar ice caps and the California coastline of North America. And you can see from space, like you have telephotic lenses, right into the mountain and see this basin there we just left. And this is just the wonders of our Earth, the wonders of being out in space, the wonders of a planet a little higher up in parallel dimension with no polar ice caps. The race, the man and woman with 10 feet tall from the Zeontranomon race, Zeontranomus from Zeotranomon 1, that's located on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. And here you are as an Atma, hovering in space again around Turelian. And there's still 2,000 men and women with the spheres they really are above them, here to help, went on this journey to observe us and to be of assistance to us, and then they vanish. You hear the sound of the hue running through the physical universe in that white golden field of light that is everywhere. The planet, the sun, the moon, the stars, the galaxies float in it, in this 0-point energy. First sound, not a written word. Omnipresent, living energy comes from the source. And then you find yourself at 10,000 feet up in the atmosphere of Earth, hovering there, the perfectly formed 36-year-old body in front of you, smiling, and this man and woman who have gone with you as kind of guides and protectors. And then you find you're hovering near the ceiling above your body in the sleep or trance state. And they are hovering near the ceiling with you, letting you know that they are there. You can ask their names and they'll tell you. They are there to assist you to be eventually free of the subconscious mind altogether. If you go into the you and ask for their assistance every night, you're setting up very constructive, positive conditions deliberately. And you look down on that body and smile on it kindly, and you realize there's a little white golden beam of energy emanating from the white core of your being, goes into the pineal gland, irradiates in a widening sphere of uplifting energy through the brain and out of the body in a circle that widens to about 2 miles across, sets up a perimeter, and then continues out through the planet for the benefit of others. When you're ready, open your eyes.
Thank you, Scott, for the journey. I enjoy this journey and not far from Earth.
Not far from Earth, but very much more enlightened about what people can experience if they have the imagination to see it. Remember, imagination's not made up in here. It's the ability of the being we are to connect into the one energy and see things anywhere in it and travel anywhere in it. The limitations of light and sound, the limitations of the speed of light, the limitations of gravity and time and space are not involved at all. So I'll leave that with everybody. Do you have any questions, Perry, you want to ask?
I don't have any questions, but I'd like to share more about the fears. Fear, there are so many layers, many different kinds of fears that you have to try to control. And I think the first thing that to try to control the fear is to know that you are not the body. That is the main key, I think.
Yeah, and you can go beyond the effort of trying to control things, as you're saying, into letting go to the one energy and the beings that know how to wield it to keep those fears turned off until they can be eliminated. Takes practice, but it particularly works best when people deliberately spend 10 minutes or so at night before they go to bed. Imagine someone they love and respect, they're grateful they're in their life, get that heart energy going, and then imagine being in one of these places on these trips and experiencing it directly and being in childlike wonder. And then go to sleep without worrying about whether you have an experience or not. And don't be disappointed. Don't set yourself up for disappointment if nothing seems to happen by the next day. Keep it up for a while. Things will take place, especially if people are consistent with it. Okay.
Yes, and people can go check on your website under this video, okay?
Yeah, I don't need to, I'll just show them the books. I'm not going to talk about them today. You'll find them at the website. Looks like that. That's the ice rings of Saturn, right in our own solar system. That's a mile-long cylindrical ship, like the one that was in Mount Shasta that's 300 feet long. These are the disc-shaped craft. This is permanently stationed in our solar system to protect us from ourselves. I'll put it that way. And to keep tyrant races from coming back here because they've been removed. This is the first book of the Parallel Time Trilogy. This is what you look like. Not this. These beings, 100,000 years ago, and these beings, and this little non-human hovering with anti-gravitic capabilities, adren, silica-based, not carbon, like these. A master teacher on anti-gravitic disc. There's his ship stationary. It's the doorway that leads to the first plane above the void. And this master teacher is introducing them to source energy. But these beings don't realize at this time is one of these, just like it, on a smaller scale, is hovering above each of their heads. There are 30 illustrations of characters and scenes in that. So go find them if you want to. And I will have the links up on this video. So when Perry puts it up on our YouTube channel, you can click those links or just go right to Amazon, get the books or get a download an ebook, whatever you want. The images, the illustrations are in the ebooks as well. Okay.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Scott.
I will say,
please share the video. Yes.
I will say to everyone, pleasant dreams and see you later.
Okay, bye.